All right there. I am going to talk to you today a little bit about probability, and I'm just going to go into a little bit more of the math behind probability statements. So say we're interested in some event, and we're interested in a particular outcome of that event. So say I'm going to use the big P to stand for the probability. So probability is equal to the number of times something happens, some outcome that you're interested in happens, out of a total number of possible times for it to happen, which I'm going to call the number of events. So for example, the probability, if something, if I, say I watch something happen 1,000 times, and there were 500 times it was this particular outcome, then the probability of that outcome would be 500 divided by 1,000, or 0.5. And just thinking about this, 500 out of 1,000, you know that this thing is happening half of the time, right? And so you can see that a probability statement gives you this proportion, which if you multiply by 100 gives you a percentage. So 50% of the time this thing happens would give you a probability of 0.5. So that's how these proportions or probabilities are related to percentages of time. So another example might be, say only 100 times out of 1,000 this certain thing happens, you would have a probability of 0.1, and if you multiply that by 100, you would get a 10% chance of this thing happening. And here's one that you might see quite a bit as we talk about statistics. If something happens 50 times out of 1,000, we would get a P, or a probability, of 0.05, and this you'll see in statistics quite a bit, this 0.05, a P of 0.05. And what that really means is this thing that you're interested in is only going to happen 5% of the time, which is a pretty low probability. So hopefully this helps put some of those probability statements into better context, both that the P stands for probability, and that you use the number of outcomes divided by the number of events to get the probability value, which is a proportion, and that you can multiply that by 100 to get a percentage likelihood. All right.